Hi, welcome back to part 2 of our final house update. In part 1, we covered 5 things that we love about our home here in West Summerlin. And in this video, we're going to cover 5 things that we don't love so much.
The first thing we don't love about this home and where we're at is being right in the middle of 2 other homes. We've been really fortunate. Actually, we've lived in 2 apartments, but it always feels like you're on your own in an apartment. You don't really have,
In a weird way.
But the homes that we've owned previously, and even the one that we rented when we first came here, happen to be corner lots, so we haven't actually had neighbours. The first house that we bought in the UK was not just a corner lot, but it sat at a different angle to the rest of the street.
So you didn't really have
there was no next door.
So it was perfectly positioned, and the one we just rented where we were at, it felt very secluded. So if we was ever working out in the garage with everything open, we was actually at the end of a cul-de-sac as well, so it just felt very private. And now we're in between 2 homes, it definitely doesn't feel as private as what we've.
Number 2 on the things that we don't love about this home is, one, the drive space. So it's a very small 2-car drive. It must be the absolute minimum that they can get away with, not just in the width, it's the length. So from the garage, I get confused over which is the English word now.
Garage. They say garage.
Okay. See, I'm turning American now. From the garage opener, so the door, to the street, can't be much more than 22 feet. It's very short compared to the house that we came from.
Yeah, and we have just enough space to get our car on that driveway space. If we had a pickup truck,
I saw somebody manage to just get their pickup in it. I think the overhang was about a foot, just about.
But you pretty much really have to then go diagonal, so we would prefer a larger driveway space.
And linked to that is the garage or garage space. I really wanted a 3-car garage, and I think it would have been really beneficial for us.
And the reason why was, well, actually, that's why we liked the tri-points, because a lot of those houses had the 3-car.
Or 4 in some cases.
Even. And it's just the way that we use it. We have half of the garage taken up by the gym space. And when we're working out, we're using the other half to work out and do stuff. And then I think about, let's say if we're both doing things and Ant was working on the bike, it would just be so much better to have that third space in how we use it. At number 3, we have aspects of the layout of the home. And in the last video where we spoke about the 5 things we loved, we said actually the size was one of them. But what I've recognised in how they've done this home is there's certain things they've placed in not quite the right place for me. As an example, the WC is right in the living area, so right next to where you're watching TV. And to me, that really doesn't make sense. It would have been nicer for that just to be placed on the other side. This will go into the next section when we talk about what we really dislike about what they've done with this home, and it's the layout of the kitchen design. So there's just things, and it's funny because Woodside, what is it, Better by Design or something? That's the bit where they really
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, they fall short on.
Of all of the home builders, I would say they pay less attention to detail, and it shows up in things like windows and window placement, which both Toll Brothers and Tri-Point do a much better job of. Like you said, the toilet, WC, downstairs bathroom, and the one you mentioned was the utility room or the laundry room. Just where they've placed it hasn't allowed them enough space, so it's quite tight in comparison to the rest of the home, which feels like the rooms are about the right size. It feels, or it is, about the same size as our house in the UK, which was half the size. Yeah. So if you had a family of 4, we're struggling in there. It doesn't really make sense. So I would say they're worse by design than better by design.
At number 4, and this is probably the worst thing about the home, and that is the kitchen design layout overall. They have not nailed this one. And you know why? I mean, one of the biggest, if you've been watching our videos, we've documented about how they've done the configuration with the oven and the fridge such that you cannot open both at the same time. Can you believe that?
It's a shocking design, and for us, we do use the kitchen a lot, more so me than you now. We do both like to cook. We do have at least one, usually 2 meals in per day, every single day. And sometimes we are in the kitchen. So unlike when we said that the upstairs bathroom in our other video, which is a good thing, where you don't have to interact or
Bother
each other, in the kitchen you are always bothering each other. So not only can you not use the oven and the fridge at the same time, which Selena's mentioned and we've had in multiple other videos. If you're both in the kitchen at the same time, you're often bumping into each other, or you need something where somebody's opening a drawer. You can't necessarily have the dishwasher open. It's just, the whole thing is not designed correctly.
Lots of things that you realise that with the space they had, they could have configured it in such a way where it was a bit more usable with the fridge, the oven, the microwave. But like Ant said, there are just things, you can't open the dishwasher and cupboards at the same time. So it's not great if there's multiple people in the kitchen at the same time.
The other thing is there really isn't that much, what do we call it, side space? We call it side, I know that won't make sense. Worktop, yeah, countertop, worktop. It's very, very limited in here. Even where you do have it, it's restricted by the fact that the cabinets are quite deep and they sit out quite far over the work surfaces, which you'll see in the video, in particular the microwave area, which comes out another foot or so. And that makes that bit not usable because you're kind of having to work underneath in a tiny gap.
It just made me realise something else about the microwave, and I think somebody else mentioned this as well. The height of it, it's quite high for me. So I'm usually on my like tippy toes trying to get something out there. So and I've never experienced that with any home where I can't access the microwave at a sensible height.
It's all bad design.
At number 5, our last point is the general poor build quality of this home. And it might not seem like a huge thing because the issues can be fixed. But I keep saying it might never be fixed at this rate by Woodside. So that is a bit of a disappointment. And especially because we've bought many new construction homes, and this has to be the worst when it comes to the quality of the home when they handed it over.
I don't think it's an excuse that it was a busy time. I know a lot of them were pumping out tons of houses and they were struggling with framers and everything. That was because you were doing too much. You were selling too much because the market was hot. You were selling as much as they possibly could and then had them over 60%, 70% complete. The structure was there, but the interior, we have a couple of videos on this, but it was everything. So for example, the windows, which are still not repaired, the sliders, are broken, scratched. The windows in your office are broken, still not done 7 months later. All of the baseboards, missing panels, all of the door handles, all of the backs of doors as well, where they just couldn't be bothered to paint them. Sometimes they weren't painted, sometimes it was missing paint, sometimes it was half painted, probably by one guy and then finished by another person with a paintbrush rather than the spray gun.
It just seems like there was such lack of care for quality, craftsmanship, workmanship, and it's really lazy as well. So you can see in places where there was something that they could have easily have sanded up down and then just painted, but no, rather than sand down, they're just like, okay, we'll paint over this.
And then come back and fix it later. And it was really disappointing. It's our first experience of a US house build, and I'm sure lots of people had an amazing time. For us, it was a bad time, and especially because we'd already owned new build properties, so we had 3 builders to compare it to, and this by a long way is the poorest quality in terms of the finish and handover from any builder so far for us.
That is it for the 5 things that we do not love so much about this home. Let us know what you think. I'm very curious about others that have gone through this process,
particularly over the last 2-3 years.
Yeah, it would be great if you can just comment below and tell us, what are you experiencing with your house build? Like I said, comment below. Do not forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and thanks for watching.